Last presentation of the day. I'm the guy between you and the drinks. So, I'm Niklas Johansson. I work as a business architect at ICA. I haven't been there for too long, so I will also talk about previous experience, of course. And I've been in the BI business, or business intelligence business, for close to 20 years, so I've been around in quite many organizations, seen more or less the same problems everywhere. And that's a little bit about what I will talk about today. And please, if you have any questions, just raise your hand or have the question straight out. And what we see here is one of my colleagues, one of the retail store managers, who owns his own business, at least according to the TV commercials. I think you recognize him. Just to put it a little bit in the context where I am right now. So I'm working for ICA, Sweden, who is the leading grocery retailer in Sweden, of course. And we have about 1,300 stores. And each store is locally owned by the manager, which is both a challenge and sometimes makes it easier. But I think you understand that each manager is having quite a large impact and has a demand for data to understand what am I selling. So how do we solve that? Not always as easy as it sounds. The good part is that it's very entrepreneurial business. I'll come back to that later. So the vision for ICA is to make every day a little bit easier for their customers. And the way they do it is by 3 words, leading words. Simplicity. Make it simple. And I think these words are good even for being data-driven. Make simple solutions that has an impact in the daily business. That's when they will see a business value. So don't make big, complex programs. Listen to the business side and the people working there. What's your problem? And think, how can we solve that specific problem? So think big, but start small, with a quite crisp business case. Because then you also build a reference case to tell everyone else in the business what you have done and what you have achieved. And commitment. So far, every person I met that is an employee at ICA is really committed to their work. And being data-driven is also a commitment. You have to find ambassadors in the organization that are committed to what you want to achieve. Find those people, because you can't do it alone. You cannot come centrally from an organization and say, everyone must now do like I tell you. It's rather to have the ambassadors say, I do it this way. I changed my way of working, and it made it easier for me. And we got a big business value from this. Then you have other people tell the rest of the organization to listen to me. That's about communication and also building a trust for what we are doing. And entrepreneurs. Lots of people have ideas in the organization, and that is good, because that makes them changing their own way of working all the time, and they are not afraid of failures. They are ready to try something new, which data-driven is all about. We want to act to the data there is. We want fact-based decisions. And I'm not the one that will take the decision. Each employee has to have their own data and make the decisions on that data. And that's what I have to supply them with. But that's the good part, that they are used to change every day in their own processes. So when I come and present something to them, they are not afraid of trying something new. But what do we mean by being data-driven? I think this definition is quite good. It's about reaching out to each and every employee, and maybe to the customer themselves as well, in some cases. I want to provide data to other people so they can make their own decisions based on the facts. And I want it to be part of their daily business. Not only once per week or once per month. I want them to live by this. So we cannot have some canned report that they start looking at every morning. Because they want to see that report in another way. And they will have other questions when they see the report and see that, well, I didn't sell any milk yesterday. Why didn't I sell any milk? But we cannot provide that report because no one asked for that in advance. And that's why we must give them the tools and the data to create the question and get the answer themselves. So what does it take to be data-driven? As I said, we have to provide the data. But also, the people that get the data must trust the data as well. Otherwise, they will not continue using the data or the tools that I'm providing. So it's not enough to just start a data governance program, which usually is centrally. We have to live and change the culture, the way we see data, and the way we understand data. Because as I said, I am not the one that will analyze all the data for each and every person in the organization. I have to provide them with the tools so they can do it themselves. So how does it look in your organizations? Is it easy to get the data? No. And nobody said yes. And that's exactly what it looks like everywhere. So we say, besides changing the culture and being used of using data, we somehow must provide them with the data with good quality. And we must also measure their quality for them and tell them how good or bad it is. We can tell them that here you have data for your customers, but the reliability of that is only 40%. At least then they know it is 40% and can make a decision based on that. But if they get the data and believe that this data is totally correct, and then realize it was not, then we have a problem with the trust. So make it visible, both having access to data, what data they have access to, where it comes from, which is also important, because how do we feed the systems we have in the organizations? Sometimes we get data from a third or fourth system. They have passed through 2 or 3 other systems on the way. Can we trust that data? It's been formatted. There has been technical rules applied to it. There has been some business rules. So we need to understand where data comes from. That's also a question of trust. So we say, one easy way to go is you need to have a central repository of data somewhere and show them what data they have access to. I put 2 examples. It does not have to be them, but usually today at least we do it by data warehouse or data reservoir. In the future, the technology is changing, so we might not build a new data warehouse or data reservoir for the purpose. And I also have to say, data warehouse and data reservoir are used for analytical data, where you store data with history as well. Because there's a difference between a payment process, which you follow, that does not need any history in itself. So we have to make that distinction as well. But it might be interesting to understand that me as a customer has moved from a flat to a house. And when I did that, and maybe I moved into the house together with someone else, because that is the customer behavior. And that might be a difference for you for selling products to me. Because I might be using other products when I live in a house than in a flat. And it might be interesting to see how often I move from one location to another, or not. Depending, of course, what you want to analyze. But if you're doing fraud, I can definitely say everything is of interest. I was sitting in a project where we analyzed customer behavior just from a fraud case. And we realized that persons that have moved more than 2 times the last 3 years and bought a new car the last 6 months were more into fraud than other people. I don't know why. We could just see that was what was happening with that data we had. Who here would have thought of that in advance? So you really have to look into the data to find patterns. But as I said, you cannot do it on your own. You have to provide other people with the tools and the data. And yes, of course, start with the most critical sources, the data that affects people the most. In my case, everybody is asking for what products are we selling, how much are we selling for every day, and so on. Doesn't matter which project or which department, everybody wants that data, so that is a typical critical source for us, where we can find some interesting things. And share the data in a good way and make it part of their daily business or their routines. By simple dashboards or reports, it could be by their mobile, building a simple app, just to make them start using the data. Then they will ask for more data, and they will start asking more questions. So this is, again, make it simple. Don't start with big programs that will start to deliver in 6 or 12 or 18 months. Think big, this is where we want to go, but start very small with a simple dashboard, provide that to the employees, and communicate and listen and interact. How are they using this report or the data? What follow-up questions are they having? So what other data do I need to bring in and provide to them? Today there are many tools. There were quite a big difference 20 years ago. We didn't have so many tools, specifically not on the putting data out. We could do some simple reports, static reports. Today we are talking about visualizing the data, building graphs and interactions. And it's easier to drill down in the data, starting on aggregated level and drill down to the detail. And maybe even see that I sold a package of milk in that specific store by 2 o'clock today. And how many packages of milk did I sell today, and how many did I sell last week? And would it be interesting to understand which day in week do we sell most packages of milk? And then start to understand why is Tuesday the best day for selling milk? Have you ever thought about that? Is it important? We don't know until we have tried. But as long as we don't even have that question or get the answer, we don't think about why are we selling these products these days. Another way of changing the culture is to I think, implement a new process, which was not as easy some years ago either. We tended to start with the requirements to build a data warehouse or something, and then it took about 2 years to get there. Now we're talking about the discovery phase, which I think everyone should start with. So what does that mean? Well, provide the data and some tools that are easy to learn, and let them discover the data and understand what data do we have, and what questions do I have. And when they got some good answers on the questions, we can identify what data do they need. Do they need all the data sets? Or do they need these data sets to get the answers? This again is think big but start small. Get the business value and be as crisp as you can to make it small. So you can deliver in just a couple of weeks. It's quite easy to get tools like Qlik or Tableau or any other and start work with them. And also learn people who is not used to IT or IT tools to understand them and sit together with them and discover the data. Try. Get their questions and show them this is how you can get the answer of your question. Okay, then they have 5 new questions based upon the answer on the first one. Then we know what data do they need for their daily business and provide them with the tools, and then you have the requirement. What data should I bring to their central repository? And let them use the same tool for accessing that data. Then we have tried, we have failed, maybe with 9 or 10 questions, and we had realized that the data they need for answering the questions is not that big, it's that small. To start with, at least. But you don't have to put the big programs in place that costs millions of kronas. So that is the discovery phase, and then you have the requirements. Start with an implementation of the central repository, your algorithm, or whatever there is. And then you implement it, and that might be in different cases, depending on the question. And then you need to follow up on that as well to see how it performs, because it will change over time. The question we have today is not the same question they will have tomorrow. And that is also a reason why you should start small. Because if you start big, it takes 6 months to deliver or even more. So the question they had today, in 6 months and you have delivered, they don't even have the same question. So, 3 keys I would say to simplify. Choose the right data, which you can find by using the discovery process. You really get down to details, what data do they need based on the questions they have. And try answering that question, and you will see if you can do it with the data or not. If you can't, why should you build a system for that data? So you can save quite lots of money and also be faster in your deliveries. Make sure that you have some really good use cases to optimize the business value. Because we can do cool stuff, really cool stuff with the big data technology. But how useful is it? I've been talking to quite many people in organization, and everyone is talking about big data. I'm just taking that as an example. But I haven't really heard anyone saying that, oh, we had this big business value from it. But they say, we must have it. Why? They don't know. And as the guy before me, Kine said that, yeah, probably we can solve all of this stuff in the traditional data warehousing or that technology. And yeah, that is true. I would say 97 or 99% can be done that way. But yes, I definitely agree that we need the big data technology or Hadoop platform. Definitely. Because that gives us different other opportunities and using other data sets. Definitely. But we are not really mature enough right today to understand what should be running on the old technology and the new technology. I think there will be a hybrid between these two. But once again, if you are crisp in your business case, it will be easy for you to also choose what technology and what tools that you need. Instead of buying a technical platform, implement it, and that not having so much business value from it. Again, think small, or think big but act small. And not the least, make sure that you gain value, maybe not from the first day, but after 2-3 weeks. You should have the first case out and the business value. Then you can show that it took us 4 weeks to do this. We saved this money or we increased the sale. Because that is what management listens to. They want to save money or they want new, fresh money. And also, you can tell everyone in the organization how successful you are, which is important, and build trust.